Welcome to ICL's The Bottom Line, Fast Fertilizer Facts, where we break down fertilizer practices, products, and cutting-edge agronomy techniques in 10 minutes or less. In each episode, we will deep dive into one topic, one product, or one practice, and end up where it matters most, the bottom line. When it comes to crop nutrition, many fertility programs rely on multiple products to supply essential nutrients. But what if several key nutrients could be delivered in a single granule? In this episode, we're taking a closer look at complex fertilizers and digging into the 5-in-1 fertilizer, ICL PKpluS. We'll explore how multi-nutrient fertilizers differ from traditional blends and whether the agronomic and economic benefits translate into real value. Joining us today from the ICL team is Mike Wikowich, our commercial manager for Canada. Great to have you here, Mike.
Thank you.
We are also joined by Jason Hagley, our marketing and innovation manager for North America. Great to have you here too, Jason.
Hi, Britt. Great to see you again.
Let's dig right in. Growers have traditionally built fertility programs using multiple dry products and blends. Why are more growers taking a closer look at complex or multi-nutrient fertilizers today?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, Britt, is that, historically we've really been focused on three nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But, in recent years, there's been a greater awareness that all nutrients, all the essential nutrients are important for crops. Sulfur has become more important, and micronutrients have become more important as well. So for farmers, they're trying to accomplish much more in their fertility program, trying to apply more nutrients and having the convenience of having multiple nutrients in the same granule provides that homogeneous distribution of nutrients, but also allows more nutrients to be applied at the same time together.
And what I like about that, Jason, is the fact that you could do it with multiple nutrients. You could do it with your traditional NPKs and then start throwing in these other calciums, magnesiums, everything else. But then it's blended and it's not necessarily available to all aspects within that fertility band. Although it's in the mix, it's not consistently through the band.
Exactly.
ICL's PKpluS is often described as a 5-in-1 granule. How is it different from traditional fertilizer blends or other complex fertilizers that are available on the market?
ICL's PKpluS isn't a blend, and that's what makes it so great. Being all in one granule, it's complex, but it delivers phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, magnesium, and calcium. There's a nutrient synergy that comes from all of this together and being placed in a band or in bands where the roots can access it at all. There's a low salt index, so it's very seed safe, which is needed in our crops, is the seed safety, especially as equipment is placing the fertilizer nearby the seed to get those nutrients so that the crop can get up and get going. And then you really think about it, it gets us this uniform nutrient distribution. Whereas with a blend, you have the nutrients in there, but they're not available to all the roots. Whereas when it's all in one granule, it's all available for that plant at every spot.
The thing that I would add to that, Mike, is that PKpluS contains polysulfate, which is polysulfate, or the mineral polyhalite, is one of the most exciting developments in crop nutrition in recent years. And with that polysulfate component brings a low chloride source of potassium. It brings sulfate. It brings the calcium and magnesium, and all of those nutrients being released gradually over a longer period of time, so that we're not just addressing early season nutrition, particularly when we apply a product like PKpluS close to the seed, but we're also addressing that late season nutrition, particularly for nutrients like sulfur that are increasingly in demand by the crop later in the season.
So a key benefit is roots having access to multiple nutrients at one time. But one of the key challenges with early season or pre-plant nutrition is ensuring it's available when crops need it later in the season. Does PKpluS support crops throughout the growing season?
It does, and I think that's really powered by the polysulfate component of PK+. The uniqueness of polysulfate is that it has that extended release, that gradual release of nutrients, all throughout the growing season. For the nutrients that polysulfate contributes potassium, sulfur, calcium, and magnesium. And so, while those nutrients are available to the crop, early in the season, especially when we have banded applications, an air seeder as an example, we do have that late season feeding that occurs as well to ensure that key nutrients like sulfur are being released to the crop all throughout the growing season.
And what I find myself speaking with customers about around PK Plus is this all season feeding and the uniqueness that we get from our polysulfate side of it, and just how it's a nice natural release. I mean it in that sense of natural release. It's a rock, it's a mineral. There isn't a synthesis that went to create these micro side to it. It's just a natural rock. It's soluble, it breaks down, and it's available on its curve throughout the season, and therefore it's always available for the plants as it's needed, versus kind of loading it up at the start of the season and hoping for the best that it lasts.
If a grower is interested in PK Plus, what are the first situations or cropping systems where you typically see the greatest fit?
Oh, I think of the greatest fit is, well, I'll be too general, but everywhere. But the greatest fit is where you're going to need seed safety. So it depends on the seeding equipment or how close you're going to get your fertilizer to your seed. But that would be a huge one right off the start. Then within it, it fits all cropping systems. It delivers great value all the way through. But crops like canola that need a lot of sulfur, you see a huge benefit. The 5-in-1 simplifies our logistics, application programs. Instead of having to go over multiple times because you've got multiple ingredients, it's all in one. It's a one and done kind of thing that way. The other system that I'm a big proponent of initially is if you are putting down UAN, or if you're mid-row banding your urea, or you're an NH3 user, an anhydrous user, this product is a beautiful fit to help keep you very efficient and keep you rolling acres in the spring, and then you got season-long benefits coming out of it.
So the obvious fit is in those springtime or seeding type applications, but PK Plus also fits the fall broadcast markets as well. Not only Canada but the U.S. as well. And I think it fits the fall market well for two reasons. One is that it doesn't contain any nitrogen, unlike other phosphorus sources like MAP or DAP. And so with growing concerns about nitrogen loss from fall applications, we have a source of phosphorus fertilizer that is more appropriate for the environment without that nitrogen component. And then along with the phosphorus, PK Plus obviously contains sulfur, and I think very few people would consider applying a sulfate based source of fertilizer in the fall due to concerns about sulfate loss over the course of the winter. But what we've learned about polysulfate is that sulfate, due to the characteristics of the polysulfate mineral and the gradual sustained release, is available for the crop that following spring and summer. So it's a fall applied, spring approved type of sulfur source in a fertility program.
Fertilizers like PK Plus often come at a higher price point, so growers and retailers often want to know, does it pay? So how should they evaluate whether the investment in PK Plus makes agronomic and economic sense?
I would say the biggest things they need to look at is, what are your nutrient efficiency benefits you're going to get from this complex granule, the ICL PKpluS? You're not having the roots chase some nutrients that have been blended together. It's all there. Particularly the geography I service is you can run some risk of low temperatures, potential near freezing conditions, and if you get it off to the right start, that's what you need to do. But on top of that, the cost of the product is more, but the benefit is season-long feeding of the crop. So not only up better, but you're feeding all year, which leads to a better yield, a better product, a better oil seed, a better wheat kernel at the end of the day.
And that's the bottom line. We'd like to give a special thank you to both Jason and Mike for sharing their knowledge on ICL's PKpluS today.
Thank you, Britt. I appreciate
Thanks, Britt.
If you're looking to improve nutrient use efficiency, simplify applications, or maximize return on your fertilizer investment, talk with your agronomist or connect with the ICL team to learn how PKpluS can help your operations.